Okay, we're going to hear now from our race-winning team in today's 12th annual Axalta Faster, Tougher, Brighter 200 NASCAR Xfinity Series race here at Phoenix International Raceway. Our race winner is Kyle Busch. He drives the number 18 NOS Energy Drink Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's joined by his crew chief, Chris Gale, and also by Vice President of Xfinity Operations at Joe Gibbs Racing, Steve D'Souza. Congratulations, gentlemen. The third straight race weekend that Joe Gibbs Racing has been victorious in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and also continues to pace that series with a strong fleet of cars and strong performance overall. Kyle, we'll hear from you first. Just talk about the performance out there today, your 9th win at Phoenix in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, your 79th career win in the series. Just talk about being able to do that. I know it never gets old because you love to win, but just talk about the win here today.
Yeah, it certainly never does get old, but there was a lot of good things that had come of this weekend. Just having the opportunity to work with Chris Gale and, of course, to get a chance to be out there on the racetrack with this different tire than what we've run here the past couple times, which is the same tire that we're going to run tomorrow on the Cup side. So lots of things to learn, and felt like a good day. Obviously, just being able to have a good race car run up front. We may not have qualified on the pole, but we did have a good race car. So real proud of the effort by Chris and everybody on this NOS Energy Drink team. Guys did a great job. Our Toyota was fast. So not much to complain about really. Besides my teammates probably just ran me too hard and gave me a fit there up front. It may not have seemed like it or looked like it, but I had to run as hard as I could all day long so that there was no break in that car. It was just full out all the time.
Let's hear now from crew chief Chris Gale. And Chris, continue to be impressive with this race team. Just talk about the performance this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't qualify quite where we wanted. Obviously, we want to sit on the pole. But I thought this weekend for us was a good shot where I don't think we were the best car in practice. I think the 20 was probably a little bit better, maybe even the 19. We kind of got behind on tires. We had a flat and didn't spend a long time on one set of tires, and then kind of didn't show the speed we needed to in practice. And we made some adjustments late last night, this morning, and I think it showed today. We had a good race car all day, and I think it's, Kyle may not say it, but I think it adds to some credibility for all of us to where he can know he can walk away, and he may not have the best car on Friday evening in practice, but he'll have something good to race with, and I think that was a good display for the team.
And Steve, again, congratulations to your racing team and organization. Just talk about how things are really clicking right now for the Joe Gibbs Racing.
Well, what an awesome day for these guys and for the past few weeks for them, and I think it's particularly gratifying when we look at the organization as a whole and how we're working together. Chris with all the crew chiefs and Kyle with Eric and Daniel. Each week that he talks to them and he coaches them, and I'm sure that's going to stop one day if they beat him. But for right now, he's a great asset to the team, great team partner, and coaching the guys, and they really respect him. And obviously they've got to race hard to try and beat him. And I think internally at our shop, everybody's working so hard, the engine shop, fab shop, everybody. It's just a group effort, and everybody's putting in 100%, and the dividends are paying off, and really proud of them.
And you touched on a good point. Eric Jones was just in here a few minutes ago. He said he would not be performing as well as he is if it wasn't for Kyle Busch, pushing him and those types of things. We'll take questions now. We'll start here with Reed, and then we'll go to Kenny.
I'm Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Kyle, I think Eric caught you in traffic with about 30 to go, raced you side by side, but you both still had a pit stop coming up. Fair to say that the decisive moment was that stop where you came in together and gained about 2 or 3 seconds on the racetrack? Yeah,
I think that was a moment in the race that you can either gain a lot or lose a lot in a very short period of time. So, we had a really good short run car, I guess, because I could kind of get out for a little ways, and then in that long run that we had there, I mean, what was that, 80 laps or so? And I just a couple moves that I had to make in order to get past some of the lap cars that were running side by side. I just burnt my front tires up, and I couldn't never get them back underneath me, and Jones had been pressuring me for about 10 laps there, and finally he was close. He was probably about another lap or two from going by me, and we needed to pit. I just wore my stuff out too much, and then fortunately it was time to get to pit road anyways. And when I did, I waved real late just to make sure that he knew I was coming and wouldn't run me over. And it was soon enough where he made his way to pit road as well behind me. And, you know, with the way everything happened on pit road, I'm not sure how his stop was compared to ours or anything like that, but obviously we got a bit of a gap after the stop, and I just ran as hard as I could to make sure that I maintained that gap and didn't let him close on me in case he had another good, you know, 20-lap run car or whatever and was going to gain on me. So all in all, it was a fun race, I thought. You know, it was pretty interesting, and I enjoyed NASCAR letting the races go long like that because it gives an opportunity to see some of that action that plays back and forth a little bit, and having green flag stops, that's something that I don't think you know, these guys get a whole lot of, and it's nice to see that Eric Jones was as successful as he was at it.
Kenny Bruce.
Chris and Steve, without Kyle in the car, what do you guys lose if he's not there as far as an organization?
Well, I think obviously what he does is benchmark our division, helps with our drivers, obviously training them up, and they are the future of NASCAR, these younger guys, and to, you know, clearly get to the bottom line is they've got to run well so they can have an opportunity to get a good sponsorship, which is what we need obviously going forward. And so Kyle's a tremendous assistance in all that. And so without that, we could get lost very easily because the younger guys sometimes just don't know what they need. They're very good in defining what the car needs, but sometimes they need a little more help than that. And that's where Kyle's such a huge asset to all of us, the crew chiefs. You know, when we're building the cars, he can contribute a lot of information there. So it's vital, I think, to the success of not only Joe Gibbs Racing, but also as we try to develop young drivers, too. He's a huge part of that.
Yeah, I would say from the crew chief standpoint, it's a benchmark, right? Whether it's getting on and off pit road, whether it's what you need for the balance of the race car, how fast you should be running, qualifying, it's a benchmark all the way across the board. You know you've got the best in the car. And when you put young guys, different people in the cars, you know, okay, they're getting compared to the best. But you kind of know where your stuff is, right? So it's good that way. I think you see Eric Jones has improved because of having to run against Kyle, and I think that's the goal for any of the young guys. You know, how close can they be to Kyle, and is our stuff close enough? And it's a good way to evaluate that.
How do you know? It's like, I mean, they may be good, but may not be Kyle Busch good. So how do you?
Oh, I don't think anybody's Kyle Busch good. I mean, obviously the wins he has here, I mean, it's pretty evident, right? But you still can compare how close or how far off they are from that. And okay, does this guy show promise? Look at Suarez, how much he's improved in the last year. You know, it's not Kyle Busch good, right? But you can see him creeping up and getting better and better each week, you know? So I think it's just comparison.
And there is a crossover point, too. If you go back, you know, Kyle's career, he beat the best at the time. You go back to Joey, Denny, all the young guys we've had, at some point they cross over and beat the best. And, you know, then that obviously elevates their opportunities within Xfinity and or Cup and things like that.
Let's go to Michael Knight and then to Bob Pockers.
Hi, Kyle. Michael Knight of the Arizona Republic. Two-part question. First of all, what's it like to start these races where if you don't win, a certain amount of people will think that, you know, you almost failed because you didn't win because the expectations are so high?
Well, some people will say I'm a failure for even joining in this field, you know, so I get plenty of criticisms. Doesn't matter how it comes, but whether I'm winning or losing or whether I'm participating. So for me, I don't really pay attention to any of that. I do what I need to do to help support my team, the guys at Joe Gibbs Racing, Chris Gale, my crew chief, and we work as hard as we can to be successful. And whether we are or aren't, if we got beat by Eric Jones today, then I'd go up to him and shake his hand and tell him way to go. You know, obviously he did a really good job, and it's no different than what Chris just said. You know, there was times when I was coming up through the ranks when I was an Xfinity Series driver that I was beating Mark Martin, or I was beating Kevin Harvick, or I was beating those Cup Series guys, and I would get a lot of accolades for that. And you know, we're going to see some of that stuff, I'm sure, this year. I'm sure I'm going to get beat, and whether it's by Eric Jones or Ty Dillon a couple of years ago at the Brickyard, or you know, Daniel Suarez, it's certainly going to be a big day for those guys. That's good for us.
And Kyle, do you sense any vibe in Joe Gibbs Racing this week? The team is 1-2-3 in both qualifying sessions and in the race today. You know, when you think about what it could be tomorrow, you sense a vibe within the team?
Yeah, I mean, the Xfinity shop is different than the Cup shop, but as far as the Xfinity shop, I think it shows a lot of camaraderie between the guys, the crew chiefs in general, and the team guys as well. I think that everyone's on a high right now, and they feel really good about what they're doing, the cars they're building, and the preparation and things that they're doing. So as long as all that continues and we don't falter, and we'll continue to shine and look good. So I think it's just high marks for everybody right now at the Xfinity shop, and hopefully the Cup race goes the same way. We'll see. If not, then hopefully we all have a good day, and maybe one of us can have a win.
Bob Pockers.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. I have two as well. The first is one of the other drivers told me that what's impressive about the 1, 2, 3 for Gibbs is that most likely you have similar setups and all three can kind of drive the same setup. Is that the case? And if so, how, I guess, impressive is it that Eric and Daniel can drive kind of what you're driving?
You want him to answer that, whether they are close?
Yeah, he might not be able to tell you if they are or aren't.
You go on the first part, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they are fairly similar setups. I think a fast car is a fast car, and I think that's what you've seen the last 3 weeks. We've got speed built into the car, so you may tailor the balance to the specific driver's liking, but the general setup and what makes the cars fast, we don't kind of compromise on that. And I think that's what you're seeing, and how we're all able to be fast but still kind of tweak to the balance of the individual driver.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show that the crew chiefs have to talk, communicate, and the drivers talk, they communicate, and we all work together as one big unit in order to try to make sure that we put the best product out there on the racetrack. I mean, one of those teams can go through practice and get way off in left field, and they can hurt themselves in the race, but I don't think that they do that. We're all pretty much, I mean, obviously we share notebooks and everything else, so it's pretty good that we all stay within the same realm. I mean, I'm sure my car was different than Eric Jones's car, which was different than Suarez's car by little bits here or there. As Chris was saying, it tailors to the driver's balance or the likings in which some of the characteristics of the car they like to feel it does a certain thing. Last night we made some changes in final practice that got ourselves closer to Eric Jones's car, and I was like, wow, okay, that's good, that's better, I like that. Let's go another step in that direction and do something else a little bit different for what I want to feel, and that helped us for today.
Obviously, I assume you heard what happened to Jimmy's car yesterday in qualifying, the fact that he didn't have his steering wheel locked in. Does that make you, I mean, since it's so rare, are you guys checking how you do things at all? And did you, I don't know, give an extra tug on your wheel before practice and race today?
Yeah, no doubt. I always do. I enjoy when the NASCAR officials walk around and they make sure before the race that you tug on the wheel, tug on your belts, make sure everything's hooked up. I've actually had in instances in races before where, a lap belt will pop out of the buckle and you'll be running around there without your belts fastened, So that's happened. So there's obviously things that do come apart for freak instances, and I hated to see that for Jimmy. It looked it was a really hard hit. And any time a driver hits like that, obviously you hope that their car is safe, and the Hendrick guys, they do a really good job of all that stuff. So do the JGR guys. My stuff I feel really good about. So safety's come a long ways, and thank the racetracks too for continuing efforts of the safer barriers being all the way around. It's really nice and refreshing to come to these places and see that, and it may narrow up the racing surface about 5.5 feet, total on each side, but narrower surfaces make for better action, right?
Other questions, Stan?
Yeah, Kyle, Eric Jones was in here, and I asked him to rate his toughest competitor, and it was you.
That's just because I was fresh on his mind.
maybe so. But rate him as a competitor that you've raced against all these years.
He's really good. Obviously, I knew that years ago when I raced against him in a super late model race at Watermelon Speedway. He went by me so fast I didn't know if he was going to make it to the end of the race. And fortunately, he didn't, because he blew up. I didn't want to have to race him at the end of that one. I did win that day, but he was really, really good. He was really, really fast. He wasn't out of control going by me. He was smooth, methodical, looked good. So later on that year, again, for the final race of the year, we raced at the Snowball Derby, and he won that race. He passed me and did a great job, and it was fun racing with him. We didn't put a fender to each other or anything like that, raced each other really well, and afterwards congratulated one another, and it's been that way ever since. And obviously with the relationship that we've had the last few years of him driving my trucks, it's been a really good one, and we respect each other quite a bit, and we did that here today also, racing Joe's cars. And I think that's a good camaraderie that he and I have. And there's going to be a time when he's ahead of me and I got to pass him, and I'll remember the same sort of things that you can't put a fender to that guy. He's treated you well all throughout the years. So he's done a really, really good job. As far as where he ranks, I think it's just a continuation of him getting better and growing as a race car driver. I can't put a ranking on it yet because I don't believe he's even close to full potential. I think he's really high right now for sure, but he's still got so much more that he's going to learn and get better with that he'll be a force to be reckoned with on the Cup side here shortly.
Any more questions for this winning team? Well, gentlemen, congratulations.
Cool.
Kyle,
Thanks.
Chris, Steve, Joe Gibbs Racing. Continued best of luck the rest of the season.